Welcome to Make a Path Presents. My name's Ronnie Hayes, and today, let's talk the Saviors, Negan. I am Negan. Who the hell is Negan? We all are Negan, explained. Alright, first off, if you are not really on social media and you don't watch a lot of videos on The Walking Dead and you stumbled across this video, I want you to watch the video, but please leave, and that way on TV it will be a surprise for you. It's a rather good one. It's a small one. It's a subtle one. So if you do want to hang around and watch this video and continue, this will be your last spoiler warning. It's not huge, but if you do want some surprises coming, just fall back from this video. I got a lot more. Click this eye up here and find another one that interests you as well and check that out. Anyhow, last spoiler warning, 3, 2, 1. In the comic, when Rick came up against the Saviors for the first time, the one Savior had like a little chant where Rick said, you guys work for Negan, or you guys are part of the Saviors, or whatever it was. And the guy on the motorcycle, well, the guy had a chant where he's like, we are Negan, you know, Negan is us, we speak for Negan, shit like that, where all of them were Negan. Well, in the show, they're mixing it up, making it a little, or they added it a little more, where the girl that was coughing, she's like, oh, honey, we are Negan. We all are Negan. And I think on TV that played out very well, because then everyone's hearing about Negan. Who's Negan? Who's Negan? And you have this old lady coughing up blood like, oh, honey, we are all Negan. And then at the end of the episode, that guy is like, you dumb shit, I am Negan. And Rick just blows him away. Now, the TV audience, and this is what I love, for the audience that, you know, doesn't know right now, because there's a lot that don't go on social media and don't follow up and don't read the comics, well, they're going to be thinking that Negan's dead, because Negan has a leather jacket, that guy had a leather jacket, and then he said he was Negan, and Rick blew him away, so they're going to be like, man, this was, you know, something. Actually, I don't know what the hell they're going to be thinking, because that was pretty underwhelming if that was actually Negan. So in case there's some falling for that trick, they're going to have a rude awakening when Negan actually appears on the show. But basically what it is it feels like this gang where Negan and the Saviors, like they are the Saviors, they carry his brand. You know, they are all Negan. They all eat, they have a community, they are all one. You know what I mean? Like one and the same. If Negan and them conquer an area, they get it as well. It kind of has that feeling. Now, even though Negan does live like a king, at least in the comic book, we're not sure how that's going to play out on TV or how they're going to flesh that out. But essentially, they are all Negan. Now, it gets slightly confusing because they call themselves the Saviors, so that's something they could be called as like their gang title. But when they go out, they speak for Negan, so to speak. You know what I mean? So that's where the I am Negan comes into play. And if you look at it like a twisted cult brainwash, you could get the vibe that Negan says this to give them some strength, to give them something, you know, to hold on to. And that's the fear, the people who know of Negan, the people who are afraid of Negan, and the communities that deal with him. If he's dealing and trading with the Hilltop, they're not Negan. You know what I'm saying? But Negan carries that fear, you know, that level of respect him because you fear him. If these people show up and they are Negan as well, they speak for Negan, you know, they have that fear too, or the people should fear them just the same. And that's what I'm saying, that cult kind of brainwashing where you have somebody that is the boss, he is Negan, but if I'm going to come to this community, if I show up and I'm like, Ronnie, no one gives a fuck about me, but if I show up and I'm like, you know, I am Negan, you know, we are Negan, da-da-da-da, it has that kind of vibe to it. Like you're bringing that fear and that level of respect, or yeah, I think it would just be fear. But that's pretty much all it is, at least in the comic book. If they flesh it out somewhat on the show, we'll see something slightly different, but I believe it's going to pretty much stay true to just that, because you got to understand that there's two types, and this is something, now hold on, this is where it gets interesting. I just touched on it briefly a second ago, but you have the communities like the Hilltop. Obviously, they're not Saviors. Alexandria, they're not Saviors. And any other communities out there, they're They're not saviors. They don't, speak for Negan. They don't take for Negan, yada, yada, yada. Now, Negan has his own community, let's say, and that community isn't in just one area. Let's say they have a community here, which is the main base. That's where Negan actually lives. And then over here, 10 miles away, is another little community, and that's run by, saviors as well. Like, they're connected. They are a community of one, but they're in two different locations. You get what I'm saying? Those are still saviors. Those are the people who still call themselves Negan when they're talking to their enemies or whatever. Now, that community, coincidentally, is just like the same as what Rick and the gang attacked, and they killed them in their sleep, and that would be like the same thing. Now, how many of these different communities do they have? I'm not sure, but it's definitely more than just that one. They do have outposts, areas where they trade, and yada, yada, yada. So Negan keeps his headquarters a secret, a mystery, and he uses the other outposts that we saw. Maybe that's how, you know what, that would be very interesting if that's how it works. Negan keeps his base safe because he doesn't do any trading, any communication at the main base. What they do then is they establish outposts, one here, one over here. At these outposts, they also have little clusters of the saviors living at those outposts as well, and that's why Rick and them were able to kill them in their sleep. So not only does it protect the main headquarters, because you don't have traffic coming and going like people from the community. Those are people who could actually, start a revolution against Negan and revolt and attack, but they can't because they don't know where Negan's headquarters is. So you have these little outposts, and that's just like where the girl was from, well, the girl and the guy, where they, took Carol and Maggie in the most recent episode. So they have their outpost where Rick and them killed them, where they sleep, and they have little spots along the way that are kind of booby-trapped so they can do whatever. I don't know if it's taking people along the way that they see, finding out where they lived, because we got that vibe from the Carol and Maggie episode. So that's pretty much all of it. That's actually more than I was thinking about discussing right now. So if you have any other questions, or maybe we want to dive in a little deeper, leave those down in the comment box. But yeah, for right now, to just straight simplify it, if you're just talking about who is Negan and why do they say I am Negan, it's basically just that. It's just that title. You know what I'm saying? And with that title comes fear, comes respect, comes obedience, and that's why they use that, like, I am Negan, And again, the show could add on something extra there. It could be something that they earned. It could be like a badge of honor, calling themselves Negan. We are looking at them like Negan's the enemy already, because that's what we've been told. That's what we know from the comic book. We keep saying the newest villain, Negan. So when I sit here and I say, okay, these people are saying this as like a badge of honor, a lot of you are like, whoa, he's a villain. That doesn't make any sense. Well, I'm sure some of you probably are. But they don't look at them as the villains. They don't look at, some of them, I'm sure, look at Negan like a bad guy. But there's people that don't. There's probably a lot of people that don't. Even in these little groups, they look at individuals, okay, he has bad flaws and this, that, and a third, but he might not be a bad guy. They do bad things. Rick is, the good guy in this story. Carol is a good guy in this story, and they have done bad things. Look at Morgan. He lost his frickin' mind and went around slaughtering people, robbing and killing them. You know what I mean? These are good people who have done very bad things. So when we look at Negan like the villain, and he comes and kills, and this is even good for a comic discussion, if he comes and kills later on, some fans forgive him, and they're like, okay, I want to see him in the story more, and maybe not even fighting with our group. Maybe they have to unite for something, and this isn't happening, but this is what fans would hope to see, at least some of them. We could look back now and go, well, what if we followed this kid and his father, and they were doing all this, and they were the heroes of the story, and all of a sudden they ran into a crazy person in the woods, and he just butchered them both. And, Morgan to us would now be a villain, because we followed, our heroes were that father and son in the woods, whoop-de-whoop, and Morgan butchered them. So it's all about perspective and everything like that. So Negan and the Saviors are the villains right now. They've already been labeled, but we have to understand that even the good guys in this world are villains to the other people. And I think that's a very awesome thing that the girl said in last night's episode. She looked at Carol or Maggie, I forget which one, and she said, you know, you guys are not the heroes or the good guys or something like that. And that was like awesome that she said that. That was a great part of the dialogue. It fit perfectly, and that alone describes in a nutshell so much. And you can dive in deep with that, and I do want to follow up with another discussion, but I gotta shut up before I start talking about another topic, because now my brain is starting to think about how I forgot to mention the flaws in last night's episode, like Carol, you know, not wanting to, or walking up to the girl. She wouldn't do that shit, you know. She walked right up to, and that was to force the scene into that fight, into that cool death. And I think that was weak writing. I think they could have done something else, like, I don't know, have the gun jam, but then they're gonna argue, or the writers would argue, well, we don't want Carol to kill her in this moment because Carol's she's fighting, she's having an internal conflict. And then I would say, well, listen, Carol just simply would not walk up to the girl. So we want this cool death, and we're gonna force the characters to do something they wouldn't normally do to get the cool death. There's a problem there. But anyway, I left that out, but we will discuss that in the afterthoughts video. I gotta go, man, because I just don't shut up. Listen, I'm done talking. Put your thoughts and opinions in that comment box. It's your turn. Subscribe now.